In an unknown world, there stood a tower called the Tower of God. This tower had the power to grant any wish, whether it be fame, riches, power, or even becoming a god. However, there was a catch. To get what you desired, you had to climb the tower, face its challenges, and reach the very top, where everything you wished for could be yours. At the bottom of this tower, in a dark and lonely cave, lived a boy known as the 25th Bam. Bam had no idea how he ended up in that cave, as he had no memories of his life before. For days, he found himself confined there, longing to escape. Using rocks from the cave, he desperately tried to break through the cave ceiling. Living in such darkness had grown unbearable, and he yearned to see the light. After persevering for some time, he succeeded. He made a hole in the cave's roof, allowing light to pour in. It was through that hole that Bam first saw a girl named Rachel, who had heard his efforts and broken the roof with a rock to help him. Rachel climbed inside the cave, and she and Bam quickly became friends. Their bond grew strong, as Rachel was the first person Bam had seen since waking up in the cave. She taught him many things he had forgotten and told him about the stars that shone at the top of the tower. Rachel revealed her dream of seeing those stars and expressed her desire to climb the tower to make this dream come true. However, Bam, who knew only the cave and his best friend Rachel, wanted her to stay with him forever. One fateful day, Rachel made the decision to leave and ran toward the tower's entrance, determined to chase her dream of seeing the stars. Bam, desperate to stop her from leaving him, ran after her. When he caught up to Rachel, he asked where she was going. Rachel apologized, explaining that she had to leave him behind because she was determined to climb the tower. At that moment, she was enveloped in light and began disappearing, just as the tower's doors swung open and a massive, powerful hand extended down toward Bam. Driven by his determination to remain with Rachel, Bam somehow managed to enter the tower as well. He awoke in a grand corridor and was greeted by the tower's guardian, Hedon. Bam was surprised that Hedon knew his name, suspecting Rachel might have told him. Urgently, Bam asked where Rachel was, but Hedon interrupted and stated that the answers Bam sought could only be found at the top of the tower. Hedon then presented Bam with a question. Would he be willing to take the necessary test to climb the tower and find what he was searching for? Bam was resolute in his determination to find Rachel and vowed to do whatever it took to bring her back, unable to bear the thought of losing her. Hedon altered the room and revealed a cage, explaining that to pass the test, Bam had to enter the gigantic cage and break a large ball inside it while avoiding the attacks of an armored steel eel. If successful, he would pass the test and move to the next floor of the tower. However, Hedon warned Bam that the test was extremely difficult and that he could choose to withdraw, as the tower was dangerous and someone as weak as Bam might lose their life. Unfazed, Bam rushed toward the cage, but just as he was about to enter, a girl kicked him in the face to stop him. This girl, named Yuri, and a boy named Evan started speaking a strange language that Bam couldn't understand, but Evan had a special ball called a pocket, which translated their words for him. They explained that Bam was an irregular, meaning he had entered the tower on his own, unlike others who were chosen to enter. Bam's journey was fueled by his search for Rachel, which was why he found himself in the tower. Hedon recognized Yuri as a princess of Zahard and cautioned her that helping Bam could lead to significant trouble if the boss of the tower, Zahard, found out. Yuri thought the test was too challenging for a newcomer and pointed out that even people on the 20th floor would struggle with it. However, Hedon argued that Bam was an irregular, and Yuri regarded him as harmless. Evan shared her view. Hedon suggested that if Yuri truly wanted to help Bam, she could lend him a special sword called the Black March, part of a legendary set of swords within the tower. Although Evan was hesitant about this idea, as only princesses were supposed to wield it, Yuri eventually agreed and gave Bam the sword, saying she did so because he had a pretty face. Bam accepted the sword and entered the cage, where he was immediately attacked by the giant eel. Despite his efforts, Bam struggled to fight the eel and was swallowed by it. However, from inside the eel, he managed to injure it and escape. Bam then focused on breaking the ball while hoping for a miracle, but the eel returned to attack him again. Evan shouted for Bam to ask the Black March for help. Yuri doubted the sword would listen, as it wouldn't even aid her, but Bam spoke to the sword, and to his surprise, it lit up. The sword's spirit responded to him, agreeing to help because it found him adorable. With the power of the Black March, Bam defeated the eel, broke the ball, and advanced to the next floor. Yuri tried to follow, but Hedon stopped her and killed the eel with his staff. Now Bam found himself on the second floor, where there was a big battle with around 400 people. It was a significant change compared to the dark and creepy previous floor. Bam was amazed, but had no time to enjoy it. A voice from a floating black cube, called a lighthouse, announced that they had to fight until only 200 participants were left to move on. The test began, and Bam used his sword to defend himself from others who tried to attack him. Then he faced a large, multi-eyed creature and found himself in trouble. But two new people, Kun Aguero Agnes and Rack Wraithrazor, entered the scene. Rack wanted to hunt Bam down, viewing him as prey, while Kun was curious about the Black March sword. Rack, with his lance pointed at Bam's head, seemed determined to fight. Kun mockingly asked if Rack was Bam's pet, but Bam denied it, explaining that Rack was trying to attack him. Rack, angered, stomped his feet and introduced himself proudly as Rack Wraithrazor, demanding Kun call him by his name. Kun, observing the Black March sword, noticed it held the same mark as the 13-month series swords, which piqued his interest. Kun managed to make Rack fall and quickly ran off with Bam. Furious, Rack called them turtles and began searching for them, while Kun and Bam hid behind the multi-eyed creature. Introducing himself, Kun shook Bam's hand and asked about the Black March. Bam explained that Yuri had lent him the sword to reunite with someone, which only further intrigued Kun. They decided to team up, since Kun was the only one who hadn't attacked Bam. Meanwhile, Rack continued to search for them. During this time, a battle broke out between a green reptile-like girl named Anak, who wielded a whip-like weapon called the Green April, and a swordsman named Hats, who used two katanas. The Green April bore a red mark, identifying it as part of the same 13-month series to which the Black March belonged, confirming that Anak was also a princess of Zahard, like Yuri. While Anak and Hats fought, Bam and Kun focused on hiding and keeping track of the number of participants left, which was now down to 268. Kun asked Bam if he had ever defeated anyone before, but Bam replied that he hadn't, as he couldn't remember anything from his past except what Rachel had taught him. When Kun asked if Rachel was his girlfriend, Bam clarified she wasn't, but expressed his deep connection to her, saying he belonged to her, which was why he had to climb the tower to find her. Kun remarked that Rachel seemed like Bam's rule, though Bam didn't understand the term. The two shook hands, solidifying their alliance. Bam cherished the idea of having someone on his side. The fight between Anak and Hats ended in a draw, since both were equally powerful. Shortly after, they met a man named Shibisu and agreed to team up. Kun gave Bam some advice, suggesting he shouldn't be bound by the tower's rules and should instead make his own. Kun also believed that if a princess of Zahard like Yuri saw potential in Bam, then he, too, would place his trust in him. However, their plan was interrupted when Rack suddenly appeared and attacked, still determined to fight them. But before Rack could do any damage, time ran out, and the 200 participants selected to move on were announced. The announcer warned that anyone who attacked after the announcement would be disqualified. The participants were then given 5 minutes to form teams of 3 people, as failure to do so would also result in disqualification. Bam and Kun invited Rack to join their team, but Rack initially refused, claiming he wanted to hunt them as prey. Kun challenged Rack, threatening to defeat him, and even pulled a knife from his briefcase, readying for a battle. Bam stepped in, deciding to confront Rack without his sword. Dropping the sword, Bam offered himself as prey, refusing to fight back. This gesture caused Rack to pause momentarily, though he ultimately dismissed any offers of alliance. Instead, Rack hit Kun with his lance, and tensions escalated as time ran out. Kun climbed up and caught Rack by the neck. Bam, dodging Rack's attack, picked up his sword, and the 3 were suddenly transported to the 3rd floor. Though Rack still wanted to fight, Bam refused, expressing that they were now teammates. Kun warned Rack that Bam using the sword was dangerous, as it could draw unwanted attention from those seeking it. As the test continued, 2 participants began fighting before one of the examiners, Luro Ro, intervened. The examiners, who had previously climbed the tower, were extremely powerful. Luro Ro used Shinsu, a mysterious force, to create a massive barrier of water that the participants had to pass through to continue. Kun doubted that Bam could handle it, but to everyone's surprise, Bam calmly walked through the barrier without being pushed back, leaving everyone amazed. Luro Ro, impressed, declared that Bam had already passed the test. Luro Ro decided to make a bet with Bam, where the loser would have to answer a question from the winner. Bam wanted to learn about Rachel, accepted. Both chose Anak as their champion to race through the barrier. Anak, along with her partner Hats, was the first to cross, though their other teammate, Shibisu, struggled. The match ended in a draw, earning Luro Ro the title of Ranker, which highlighted his expertise and strength. Though Luro Ro answered Bam's question, he knew nothing about a freckled girl named Rachel. Bam then inquired about irregulars, and Luro explained that irregulars were those who entered the tower on their own, breaking the rules set by the tower. Luro further clarified that the tower had 3 sections, and it seemed that neither Bam nor Rachel originated from any of them. Suddenly, a participant grew frustrated over the water barrier and accused Luro of unfairness. Luro used Shinsu to silence him, forcing him to quit the test. As the remaining participants moved on to the red door test on the 3rd floor, Kun reflected on his past. He painfully remembered being betrayed and exiled for trusting someone dear to him. His mother's advice about not trusting others remained etched in his mind. While he pondered this, Bam approached him and innocently asked if the ceiling was too bright. To Bam's surprise, Kun pointed out there was no ceiling, it was the sky. Having never seen the sky before, Bam was left astonished, adding another layer of wonder to his journey. Bam asked if stars could be seen at night, as Rachel wanted to see them when she climbed the tower. Kun explained that stars were just a legend because the sky was created by the power of Shinsu and wasn't real. This worried Bam, as he wondered why Rachel would climb the tower without him. As the test started, teams of regulars entered a corridor to continue to the red door tests. While waiting for their turn, Bam, Kun, and Rak were approached by a man who resembled a balloon and claimed to have a clue about the test. Bam inquired further, and a man explained that the groups who passed in less than 5 minutes didn't scream, suggesting there might be a time limit. Kun doubted the man's theory and questioned why he would share such information with strangers. The man then mentioned Kun's past and how he had been abandoned by his family. Angered, Kun pulled out a knife, and Bam tried to stop him while Rak prepared to fight. Kun backed off, avoiding a confrontation in the waiting room. Their turn came, and they entered a room with a giant clock and several red doors. A man named Yuga explained the test. They had to open the correct door within 10 minutes, but only one choice could be made. Yuga refused to give them any hints, leaving Kun to analyze the situation. Rak ran around chaotically while Bam tried to calm him, but Kun struggled to focus. He recalled his mother's warning about not trusting anyone and decided to disregard the balloon man's clue. Memories of Maria, a girl who betrayed him when she became a princess of Zahard, resurfaced, further shaking his trust in others. With 4 minutes left, Kun was still deliberating, but just before the 5-minute mark, Rak instinctively kicked open a door, passing the test. Yuga congratulated them and revealed that any door would have worked as long as it was opened within 5 minutes. Yuga then commented on Kun's past trauma, mentioning how Maria's betrayal turned him into someone who avoided making decisions unless he was completely certain. Yuga suggested that Kun needed teammates like Rak, who could act on instinct, and those eyes without doubt, referring to Bam. Without saying much, Yuga left, hinting at knowledge of Kun's briefcase. Meanwhile, other groups also passed, including one led by a perpetually sleepy man named Lore and another by Anik. Bam tried to ask Kun about Maria, but he avoided the topic. On the lower floors, tests continued. Among the participants was a hooded group, one member resembling Rachel. This group caused chaos, defeating everyone during their tests, which was against the rules, prompting the examiner Kwon to inform Yuhan Sung. Yuhan Sung agreed to help and contacted Luro to address the issue. Later, Bam went to buy a drink for Rak, but realized he didn't have money. Shibisu approached, bought the drink, and introduced himself and his team, which consisted of Anik and Hats. Bam thanked Shibisu and introduced himself in return. Feeling a connection, Shibisu suggested they aim to reach the finals together. Luro then announced an additional but optional test called the Crown Game. Most participants opted to join. The game required teams to fight for a throne, with one member wearing a crown while the others protected the crown bearer. The hooded group, including Rachel, also joined. Shibisu's team went first, with Anik using the green April to defeat opponents. She secured the crown by sitting on the throne, ensuring no one could take it. In the distance, Bam saw someone who looked like Rachel among the hooded group and called out to her. However, the person didn't respond, and Bam started doubting himself, thinking he might have been mistaken, as Rachel would have answered. Refocusing on the game, he watched as the countdown for the next challenge began. Rak wanted their team to go next, but Kun advised waiting for the right moment. When the next round started, 2 teams entered, one random group and Lore's team. Hats and Shibisu split up to protect Anik and the crown. Hats handled a random group, while Shibisu faced Lore's team. Lore woke up and attacked Anik using Shinsu, angering her. Anik dodged and countered with the green April, causing the Black March to react strangely. Sensing the Black March's presence, Anik ceased her attack and confronted Bam, demanding the sword. Bam refused, and Anik tried to take it by force, but was stopped by Luro, who disqualified her for abandoning the throne. Anna proposed a bet. If Bam won the test, she would give him her sword, but if she won, she would get the Black March. Bam reluctantly agreed, and the test resumed. During subsequent rounds, Kun managed to secure the crown and hid it inside his briefcase, tricking other groups with a fake. In a clever move, he placed the real crown on Bam, who sat on the throne. At that moment, the hooded group, led by Rachel, decided to intervene. Rachel revealed her face, and her teammate in Dorsey, another princess of Zahard, prepared to eliminate all the participants. The battle and the test continued, with Kun revealing his clever plan to distract the other groups while secretly delivering the real crown to Bam. He demonstrated his ability to copy objects using his briefcase, and when 3 groups decided to team up and attack him, they were swiftly stopped by Rak. After a brief rest, the 4th round began with more groups entering. 2 groups formed an alliance, but a 3rd group attacked them, defeating them all. Kun revealed that the 3rd group was their secret ally from a prior test, and he had secretly arranged their cooperation. Bam's group saw their allies return to their cell, but realized they had been disqualified for helping them. Kun explained that they needed to win the bet with Anik and continue exploring the tower together. When the final round started with 4 remaining groups, a woman with a multi-eyed mask quickly defeated the other groups, leaving only Bam's group, the hooded group, and her own group. She charged at Bam, but was stopped by Rak. Later, after removing Rak from the equation, she targeted Bam again. Dorsey from the hooded group defended Bam, and during the battle, Bam recognized Rachel's voice but couldn't see her face due to her hood. Rak asked Kun if he had bribed the hooded group, but Kun explained they were from a different testing floor and seemed uninterested in the crown. Kun and Rak managed to defeat the other members of the masked woman's group, but in the melee, the masked woman attacked Rachel, causing her hood to fall and revealing her face. Bam rushed to protect Rachel, but was struck on the head and fell. Determined to protect her, Bam subconsciously activated his Shinsu, seriously injuring the masked woman, whose name was Wa Ryan. Bam prepared to deliver the final blow with the Black March, but the sword froze time and manifested in its female form, calming Bam down. The Black March told Bam to enjoy his reunion with Rachel, kissed him on the cheek, and caused him to faint. Meanwhile, Yuri was desperately searching for a way to reach Bam on the testing floor. Evan commented on Yuri's urgency, and they were interrupted by a large man named Kiran, who mentioned a safe path forward. Yuri agreed to move, and Kiran wondered aloud if Bam, the rookie, was that important. Yuri vaguely replied that once Kiran saw Bam, he would understand, as the boy possessed tremendous power. Back on the testing floor, Bam was unconscious on a stretcher as Luroro approached Yuga to discuss what had happened during the crown game, which had ended in chaos due to the crown being destroyed by Bam's Shinsu. Luroro asked Yuga why the game was organized, and Yuga explained it was to advance the hooded group without Evangel noticing the other participants. Luroro noted that the hooded group had ignored the crown entirely and suspected one of the girls knew an examiner, which was against the tower's rules. Yuga reminded him that their tests were conducted to expel anyone with dangerous ideas or powers from the tower, asking if they had identified anyone like that. Luroro said no, but Yuga asserted that organizing the crown game had been necessary. Before leaving, Luroro asked Yuga about controlling Shinsu without making a contract with an administrator. Yuga admitted it went against the tower's laws, but mentioned an irregular named Urek Mizuno who could do it. Later, as Luroro walked down a corridor, he realized Yuga had avoided the topic because Bam didn't control Shinsu. He was Shinsu itself, which posed a clear danger to the tower. Back in his room, Bam remained asleep as Kun spoke to him, encouraging him to wake up soon because there was another test the next day and Bam would be disqualified if he didn't participate. Rachel interrupted, asking Kun for a favor while Bam slept. She confided in Kun about how Bam had followed her when she first announced her intention to climb the tower, admitting she never thought they would meet again. She requested that Kun lie to Bam when he woke up, making him doubt whether or not he had truly seen her. Rachel wanted to avoid future problems between them, believing their relationship was a burden when they were together. Kun thought Rachel was being selfish, as Bam genuinely wanted to be with her. While this transpired, Anik held the Black March and handed it to Shibisu, advising him to communicate with the sword since it didn't speak to women. Shibisu tried talking to the sword, but rejected him for not being handsome enough, revealing that the Black March only liked handsome men. Anik left with the sword, and as she did, Dorsey confronted her, continuing the condescending tone she had adopted during the crown game. Dorsey explained that the Black March belonged to Yuri, the only princess of Zahar in the past 500 years to receive one of the 13-month series swords. She warned Anik to reconsider keeping the sword and once again called her an imposter. Meanwhile, in another room, Kun reflected on how he couldn't allow Bam to keep associating with Rachel. Just then, Bam woke up, and he was informed he had been unconscious for 5 days. Bam worried that he might have missed something important and jeopardized the team. But to his relief, they explained that there was a 3-day break for all participants after the Crown Game incident. After the break, all participants gathered in a large room to select their positions in their teams before moving on to the 4th test. Luro explained that battles in the tower are conducted in teams, and these teams must have specific positions. Fisherman for close combat, Spear Bearer for ranged attacks, Light Bearer for strategy and information gathering, Scout for analyzing enemies, and Wave Controller for Shinsa control. Someone asked if injured participants would be disqualified, and Luro mentioned they would be if they couldn't participate, referencing Bam. He suggested Bam would fit the Wave Controller position, but the instructor for that role, Yuga, wouldn't arrive for 2 more days, giving Bam time to recover. 2 days later, Bam woke up and was informed about the news. He was also told that Rachel wasn't the girl he saved, making him believe she was a stranger, which saddened him. Kun tried to cheer him up, saying that as Bam climbed the tower, he would eventually encounter Rachel. He gave Bam new clothes to replace the bloodstained ones from the Crown Game battle. Bam changed into the new clothes and thought about going to Rachel's room, but before knocking, he decided to leave. Afterward, Bam resumed life in the tower and attended a class with other participants being considered for the Wave Controller position in their teams. Master Yuga explained that Shinsu was a divine substance controlling everything in the tower and that a contract had to be made on each floor with an administrator to use a fixed amount of Shinsu. Lore was the only one among them who had already made such a contract while asleep. Yuga asked the others to activate their pockets in visible mode to receive an order to make a contract with an administrator. Bam did so and found himself transported to a dark realm where a giant snake accepted the contract, sensing a unique scent on him. The experience left Bam completely exhausted, while the others seemed unaffected. Later, Bam met Warayan, the masked girl whose eye he had damaged. He apologized to her, and she accepted before leaving. Lore and his teammate, Ho, approached Bam, and Ho kindly offered his help if Bam ever needed it, which Bam accepted, forming new friendships. Bam returned to Kun, who informed him that Rak had joined the Spear Bearer class, where participants had to throw spears at distant targets. Rak found himself competing with one of Rachel's teammates, who also excelled as a spear bearer. Shibisu and Hats later approached Bam and Kun with a favor. They needed to make friends with them as part of an assignment. Bam and Kun agreed, and they went to the cafeteria together. Dorsey joined them, questioning how they could be friends when they were supposed to be enemies. Shibisu explained that they needed at least 9 friends for a test. Although Dorsey didn't believe in friendships between men and women, she decided to join them. Anik arrived, no longer part of Shibisu's group, and commented on Dorsey's perceived fall from grace after the Crown Game. Bam noticed the black march in Anik's hand and asked if Anik and Dorsey were Yuri's sisters, as they were all princesses of Zahard. Dorsey confirmed that while none of the princesses were biologically related, they were chosen from the best families and races as trophies for Zahar to flaunt. Dorsey then attended her fisherman class, where participants accumulated points by knocking down rivals, though their lives were at risk. She considered eliminating others for more points, but Anik attacked her. Dorsey fought back, calling Anik weak for being nothing without the green April, though Anik retorted that there were no genuine Zahar princesses, labeling them all imposters. In the Light Bearer class, Kun's task was to gather information. He discovered that Rak had qualified for the next test and tried to find information about Rachel and Bam. However, the information was limited, raising suspicions, and he also learned that Anik was supposed to be deceased according to tower data. Meanwhile, the battle between Anik and Dorsey grew intense, as both threw participants into the abyss during their pursuit. Anik eventually caught up with Dorsey, but was halted by a powerful strike. Dorsey demanded to know who Anik truly was, and Anik revealed she was the daughter of the real Anik, the authentic Princess Zahard. Dorsey had suspected this during the Crown Game, which was why she had called Anik an imposter, but she stopped pursuing Anik after becoming interested in someone else. Anik shared her tragic past, recounting how her mother was betrayed and killed by the Zahard princesses for having a child and breaking tower rules. This revelation fueled Anik's desire for revenge, as she vowed to eliminate all the Zahard princesses starting with Endorsi. An explanation was then given about Zahard, the first man to climb the tower and establish his kingdom. Women granted Zahard's favor were made princesses, though they didn't have to be his daughters. These princesses came from across the tower, but in exchange for their power, they couldn't have relationships with men or bear children to ensure the powers wouldn't be passed down. Princesses were essentially trophies admired but not used. Some, like Anik's mother, chose to disobey this rule, but they were ultimately eliminated by the other princesses. This is why Anik vowed to avenge her mother. The battle between Anik and Endorsi continued, with Endorsi dodging Anik's attacks and taunting her, saying her mother made a grave mistake by trying to spread Zahard's power. Enraged, Anik broke through Endorsi's guard and managed to push her off the edge. Endorsi grabbed Anik and pulled her down with her, ending the test as both fell into the depths of the platform. Both were still alive and began arguing, with Endorsi asking Anik if her mother, who had treated her well after becoming a princess, ever regretted what she did. Anik replied that her mother did not, recalling their goodbye before her mother was killed. Meanwhile, in Bam's class, the participants were casting spells with Shinsu as part of their training for the upcoming test selections. Ho, who believed himself superior to Bam, noticed he couldn't control his Shinsu while Bam continued to improve rapidly, having learned from Lore, who taught Bam how to control Shinsu in exchange for a favor. Kun arrived and left with Bam, which made Ho envious. Kun then informed Bam about the fight between Anik and Endorsi, mentioning that both were severely injured, suggesting their fight was due to their complicated relationship. Shibisu and Hats arrived, and Bam asked to help Shibisu because he considered him a friend. At the hospital, Endorsi, with a broken leg, mentioned she had run out of points due to medical expenses. Bam and Hats visited her, bringing food, but only agreeing to give it to her on the condition that she became friends with Hats and Shibisu, who would provide her with daily food. Endorsi accepted, and Bam and Hats tried to make a similar deal with Anik, who initially refused but was convinced with a chicken pie. Bam, Hats, Kun, and Shibisu celebrated their plan's success. Later, in Shinsu class, Ho remained envious of Bam's rapid improvements, suspecting Bam was hiding something. After their training, Ho received a letter with instructions on what he needed to do to reach the top of the tower. Luroro had a meeting with Yuga, who informed him that he would not oversee the next test, as it would be led by Quant. Although Luroro found it odd, he accepted the decision. Luroro then gathered all participants to explain the next test, called the joint test, which involved the pursuit of Tag. Rak and Rachel's partner wouldn't participate, as they were the only ones who passed the previous test. The participants are divided into two teams, with Kun on Team A and Bam on Team B. The test required two pursuers, one being Quant, and the objective was for the teams to either reach the goal or steal Quant's insignia. The winning team would receive points, but failure would occur if Quant managed to take their insignia. The teams moved to the circular building where the test would take place. Team A's leader, Tae, devised a plan to lure Quant using Shibisu as bait. Once Quant was drawn out, Anik, who was there, attempted to ambush him to steal his insignia, but Quant easily dodged her attack, growing annoyed in the process. This was why Luroro preferred overseeing the test. Quant's agitation often led to chaos. However, to Luroro's surprise, Quant held back and gave the participants a 111-second head start before chasing them. Luroro doubted Quant's restraint, but Yuga believed Quant had a hidden strategy. In Team B, Bam was determined to find Rachel, who was using the name Michelle to hide her identity. Endorsi informed Bam that Rachel had already left, and when Bam asked why Endorsi chose Rachel for their group, she explained that it was the only option. Meanwhile, Team A continued running toward a bridge, hoping to win the test. Knew Quant wouldn't make it easy for them, and Quant, after finishing his countdown, started chasing them. Team A executed their plan by having Anik enter an elevator, needing 10 minutes to reach the bridge, while the others kept Quant occupied for at least 5 minutes. As Quant climbed the stairs, the team set up an ambush, but Quant quickly understood their plan and decided to teach them a lesson. Using his incredible speed and shadows, Quant defeated the participants on the stairs within a minute. Anik exited the elevator and was escorted by her group, but Quant caught up to her quickly after defeating their team. Shibisu suggested waking Lore to assist, though he doubted Lore, who had essentially passed the test, would help. From his vantage point, Lore assumed they had already lost, as Quant was closing in on Anik and predicted their next move accurately. Rak warned Luro not to underestimate Kun's strategy, as he believed Kun might have copied the insignia with his briefcase to confuse Quant. However, Yuga explained that the insignias had been modified with Shinsu and couldn't be copied. Shibisu and 2 others attempted to stop Quant, but were easily defeated. Tima lost sight of Quant, who then reached the bridge where Anik was headed and confronted Kun, who claimed Anik had jumped to the lower exit. Quant didn't believe him, suspecting a deception, so Kun told him Anik was running toward the exit to confuse him further. Meanwhile, Anik hid inside a blue cube called a lighthouse, which Kun controlled to trick Quant into jumping off the bridge. Quant realized Kun was hiding something and decided to jump off the bridge while holding on to Kun. As they fell, Quant released his grip, forcing Anik to use her sword to save Kun, securing their position in the test. Quan fell to the ground alone as Anik climbed back onto the bridge, nearing the finish line. Bam watched with his team, feeling excited about Kun's apparent victory, but the rest of the team looked at him strangely because Team B couldn't pass if Team A won. However, Bam was just excited for his friends. Anik was about to cross the finish line, but to her surprise, Quan was waiting there and swiftly grabbed her insignia, declaring Team A the loser. Team B celebrated because they now had a chance to take the test. In another room, Kun pretended to apologize to Tay for not being a good leader, but it was all part of a plan to save Bam from disqualification. With Lore's help, Kun had gone to find Quant and assisted him in climbing back onto the bridge to catch Anik. Meanwhile, in Team B, the members argued over who should be the leader, and Dorsey volunteered, ultimately being accepted as the leader. Their team attempted a strategy similar to Team, moving the insignia toward the bridge. Dorsey, Bam, and 2 others took the elevator while Hats and a couple of spear bearers took the stairs. Serena and Ho waited at the entrance, and Serena shared her loss of motivation with Ho, explaining that in the next test, they might have to fight or harm the people they had come to regard as friends. She recounted a story of how she and her friends had been thieves until a rancor killed them, leaving only her alive. Ho had saved her and brought her to the tower. She admitted that killing hadn't bothered her at first, but her recent connections made her uncertain. Ho, on the other hand, showed no concern and revealed his willingness to step on others to advance further. Hats became alert upon sensing Quant approaching and instructed the other spear bearers to prepare. When Dorsey and the others reached the bridge, she suddenly betrayed her teammates by attacking the 2 members who weren't Bam. Dorsey then shared her painful past with Bam and the group, describing how she came from a family that forced adopted girls to fight one another to become a princess of Zahard. She revealed the hardships she endured, including eating stale bread while the other girls ate well, before eventually defeating all her adopted sisters to become a princess candidate. Dorsey expressed her desire to eliminate some members of Team B, as only 4 could pass, while there were 6 in a group. She was determined to secure her passage to the next stage of the tower's trials and told Bam he needed to make tough choices if he wanted to climb the tower with Rachel. Bam struggled to understand her logic. Meanwhile, Hats prepared an ambush with the spear bearers, intending to exploit Quant's arrival. Quant, having grown irritated about Kun's involvement in the previous game, arrived. Ho, meanwhile, left Serena alone and began acting of his own accord. Back with Dorsey, she continued fighting against the 2 participants she targeted. Bam tried reasoning with her, reminding her of her own past when she was weak. When Dorsey let her guard down, one of the participants attacked her, but Bam stepped in to protect her. He then decided he needed to find Rachel on his own. Rachel was inside her lighthouse when Ho interrupted her, taking her hostage and claiming he had received a mysterious letter instructing him to act. To prevent the other team from witnessing the events, the test transmission was temporarily stopped. Luro wanted to intervene, but Yuga insisted the test continue. Hats fought Quant by time, but was clearly overpowered. He had hoped the spear bearers would ambush Quant, but they betrayed him, fleeing and leaving him behind. Quant noticed their betrayal and decided to pursue them. Meanwhile, Ho, holding Rachel hostage, panicked when he saw Bam approaching. Ho demanded that Bam fight Quant to save Rachel's life. Driven by his love for Rachel, Bam agreed without hesitation. Quant used his Shinsu to immobilize Bam, more focused on pursuing the It for the test. In his desperation, Ho stabbed Rachel and, in the chaos, was incapacitated by Bam using the immobilization technique he had learned from Quant. Lying on the ground, Ho confessed his jealousy, revealing that his own weakness had stopped him from protecting anyone in his village. He admitted he didn't truly want to harm Rachel and only targeted Bam out of resentment before tragically taking his own life. Serena arrived to find Ho already dead, and Quant informed the group that the test must continue. Bam, devastated by Ho's death, was deeply concerned for Rachel. Dorsey arrived and engaged Quant in a battle, ultimately defeating him by tricking him into thinking he had stolen her badge when, in fact, she had stolen his. From a control room, Yuga declared the test over, with Team B emerging victorious. The next day, Rat tried to explain how Rachel's companion had vanished. When asked about him, Dorsey said she didn't know him well, as he was always quiet, and by the time she met him, he was already with Rachel. Can return to his room, reflecting on the fact that only 2 wave controllers would pass the test, likely Lore and Bam. He realized that everything he had done was to ensure Bam earned enough points to pass, including convincing Lore to help with his plan and swapping the original letter Ho had received with another one. Later, as Kun rested in his room, he was interrupted by Rack, who called him to the door. When Kun opened it, he found a miniature version of Rack, who teased him. Rack explained that the situation was Yuga's fault, as Yuga bumped into him and called him a tiny dwarf, shrinking him. Rack asked for help to return to normal using Kun's magical briefcase, but Kun explained that it didn't have such a function. Giving up, Rack went to bother Bam, but Kun warned against it, sensing that Bam, devastated by the recent events, no longer intended to continue climbing the tower. Bam's sole motivation had been Rachel, and now that she was in a coma, he considered staying with her, but Rack, uninterested in Bam's sentiment, insisted that he would drag Bam along if necessary, questioning if Bam wanted to stay stuck there forever. Kun admitted he couldn't do much, but Rack insisted otherwise. At that moment, Bam arrived and informed them that Rachel could no longer walk due to her injury, and that he had decided to continue climbing the tower to be Rachel's legs. Bam explained that he didn't care about reaching the tower's summit or seeing the stars. He only wanted to help Rachel. Hearing this, Kun thought about Maria and reflected on what might have happened had he abandoned his goals back then. Bam asked for their help, and Kun, pushing Rack aside, promised Bam that he could count on him. Proud of his clever and cunning tricks, Kun vowed to help Bam reach the top. Bam then requested a favor to hold a funeral for Ho, and Serena, who had been close to Ho, arrived along with Shibisu, Quant, Luroro, and others who considered him a friend. A small ceremony was held with a toast to honor him. Later, Bam spoke to Rachel, thanking her for attending the funeral despite Ho's actions. Rachel began crying and confessed that she had abandoned him because she wanted to see the stars and had considered his weakness a nuisance. She told Bam that she was no longer the Rachel he once loved and said he could abandon her if he wanted. Bam remembered Rachel as the light that saved him from his dark world and explained that, although he now had many friends, she was the first person he had met and was irreplaceable to him. Rachel apologized and cried. That night, Serena quietly left the tower without saying goodbye to anyone, though Shibisu, who anticipated her departure, waited at the exit to bid her farewell. Serena told him not to meet the same fate as Ho and gave him the dagger she had used. Meanwhile, Master Yuga secretly discussed plans to retrieve the Black March and the Green April, but he was interrupted by Yuhan Sung, who revealed Yuga's true identity as Run, the 67th agent of Zahard's Royal Enforcement Division. Yuhan Sung offered to help Rin complete his mission, considering Anik a threat to the tower's rules. Elsewhere, Kun met with Luroro and revealed information about the letter sent to Ho. The letter had been delivered before the teams were formed, implying that the sender knew the participants' positions, specifically that Bam and Rachel were on the same team, leading Kun to suspect one of the test organizers. Later, Luroro and Yuhan Sung gathered the participants to announce the passing candidates for each class, including fishermen, spear bearers, scouts, and wave controllers. Rachel was listed as a light bearer, but was disqualified due to her injuries. When one of the participants complained about the results, Yuhan Sung subjected him to a pain tolerance test. Ho, confident and bold, expressed dissatisfaction and made a direct request for Rachel to participate in the final test. Yuhan Sung explained that Rachel's condition made it impossible, prompting Bam to speak up and reveal himself as an irregular. Yuhan Sung asked Bam to accompany him privately as the others debated their decision to help Bam or not. While most decided to help Bam, Yuhan Sung escorted him to the administrator, where Bam made a request for Rachel to continue participating in the tests. As Bam and Rachel entered the Shinsa bubble for the underwater hunt test, they learned that they were the prey. The test involved net dolphins, seal-like creatures that fished once daily for their queen using a Shinsa net. Bam and Rachel's bubble needed to be caught in this net and spat out by the queen for them to pass. The hunters, however, had to protect the fish caught by the dolphins from goblins who used worm-like creatures as vacuum cleaners to steal the fish, as letting the goblins succeed would result in failure. Striped pig-like creatures could scare off the goblins or distract them, but participants needed to keep the pigs near the dolphins. Additionally, participants had to avoid a terrifying monster known as the bull at all costs. The test began with Bam and Rachel in the Shinsa bubble. The net dolphins began creating their net, while Hat's group watched the goblins, and Rack's spear-bearer team waited above, ready to assist. Shibasu's group guarded against the pigs, observing from the lighthouse, while Yuri's group, closing in on Bam, also began moving. Bam talked about Yuri, calling her the princess who had lent him the sword. Meanwhile, Hats informed the others that his companions had disappeared, and Shibisu found himself face-to-face with the bull as it devoured a participant. Shibisu tried to distract the bull, eventually jumping onto it with Serena's dagger, but his attacks were futile. Anik arrived to help, soon joined by Endorsi, and the two made a bet. If Anik defeated the bull, Endorsi would become her servant for life, but if she failed, she would surrender the green April to Endorsi. Simultaneously, Rack received a message from Hats about unexpected goblin movements. Rack instructed Hats to determine their destination while his spear-bearer group prepared for an ambush. In the Shinsu bubble, the net dolphins continued creating their net. With visibility in the depths limited, they relied on Na, who was above the surface with lore. They used Shinsu-controlled divine fish to locate an underground path for the test. Endorsi continued her battle with the bull, but had yet to defeat it, and her time was running out. The monster managed to capture her, but she broke free. The bull let out a loud scream and fled, while Anik continued to search for it until she stumbled upon Ren. Anik tried to ignore Ren, but he grabbed her attention by mentioning her mother and showing her mother's necklace. Shocked, Anik stopped as Ren introduced himself and admitted he was the one who had killed her mother. Meanwhile, the goblins continued advancing, and Rack asked if they should attack, but Kun stopped him and explained that he had another plan, relying on his abilities. Anik attacked Ren to reclaim her mother's necklace, but he defended himself and stabbed her through the abdomen, leaving her severely injured. Ren then took the green April and handed it to Endorsi, insisting that she finish Anik, calling her an imposter, and redeem herself. Ren revealed that this test had been created specifically to eliminate Anik, since her very existence violated the tower's rules. Endorsi, who had initially been given the green April to carry out the task, approached Anik but instead returned the green April to her and asked for the Black March, deciding to confront Rin together. Meanwhile, Shibisu shouted as he searched for the princesses and encountered Yuri. Rack, growing tired of fleeing the goblins, decided to fight them. At the same time, the princesses managed to subdue Rin, but when Endorsi lowered her guard, Rin attacked her and also wounded Anik. Yuri appeared just in time, surprising Rin, who introduced himself to her. Yuri noticed her sword on the ground, and in frustration, she decided to take on the responsibility of recovering the swords herself. Elsewhere, Rack and the spear-bearers found themselves surrounded by goblins, but Lore used his abilities to make his companions float in the air, protecting them. The goblins began fighting against pigs, led by Na. Lore and the others thanked Na, who decided to take a break. Suddenly, someone who resembled Hats appeared and revealed himself to be a relative of Kun. This person had been accompanying Yuri on her journey alongside Evan and Curtin. Meanwhile, Yuhan Sung, Luro Ro, and Quan observed the tests and discovered an infiltrator. As they attempted to identify the infiltrator, their signal was cut by Hats' relative. Luro Ro found Yuhan Sung suspicious for remaining calm during the situation. Kun's relative spoke with him, offering to take him to see Princess Maria, but Kun declined the offer. Evan and Curtin rushed to find Yuri, believing they needed to stay by her side, despite her not being in immediate danger. On the way, they were interrupted by Yuhan Sung, who invited them for coffee and asked several questions. However, Evan got to the point and explained that they were there to retrieve the Black March. Yuhan Sung understood and maintained a neutral position. Back with the princesses, Yuri effortlessly defeated Run and was about to kill him when Evan contacted her through her pocket, explaining that she couldn't help Anik. Yuri stepped away, allowing Curtin to eliminate Ren. Meanwhile, Kun rejected another offer to see Maria. Hats attempted to fight Kun's relative, but failed as the latter dodged the attack and withdrew. Concerned, Hats sensed that something terrible was happening, as it was unlike Kun to rest when his friends were in danger. Rin was left crushed as Yuri successfully recovered the Black March. Before his death, Rin warned Yuri that her ultimate goal should be to locate Bam, who was currently being targeted by the bull. At that moment, Bam was talking to Rachel, explaining that he was no longer the same person because he now had friends and could control Shinsu to some extent. Suddenly, the bull arrived and began attacking him. Yuri wanted to intervene, but Anik and the others stopped her, explaining that doing so would disqualify Bam. They chose to trust Bam to handle the test alone. Despite struggling and sustaining injuries, Bam managed to defeat the bull by exploding the monster from the inside using his Shinsu, emitting a radiant light in the process. Exhausted, Bam fell into Rachel's arms. Trusting Bam's determination, Yuri took the green April and left a message with Shibisu for Bam, telling him that she would be waiting on the 77th floor. She then departed with Evan. Along the way, Evan encountered War Ryan, who revealed herself to also be a guide. Evan was surprised by her presence in that location. Back with Bam and Rachel, as they were about to be swallowed by the queen of the net dolphins, Bam believed they would pass the test and continue climbing the tower together. Rachel asked to hold his hand, but to Bam's shock, she pushed him out of the Shinsu bubble, sending him plummeting into the abyss. Bam was left in stunned silence as he watched Rachel distance herself, sinking deeper into the depths. Rachel appeared unervingly calm after betraying her best friend, and a flashback revealed how she came to the tower in the first place. She wasn't the chosen one, it was Bam. Hedon, the guardian of the first floor, had shown Rachel a vision of the awakening of a savior, making it clear that Bam was the person everyone had been waiting for. However, Rachel begged to be allowed to climb the tower, promising she would do anything. Hedon agreed, but explained that her test required her to stop Bam herself, to kill him. Rachel admitted her weakness and inability to accomplish this alone, so Hedon offered her a powerful guardian who could fight on her behalf and even bring her back to life if necessary. This guardian was the same companion she had with her when she met in Dorsey. The companion eventually sacrificed themselves to revive Rachel, which allowed her to catch up to Bam and attempt to stop him. Over time, Rachel's envy and hatred for Bam grew. She was frustrated by Bam's growing circle of friends and the attention he received. Warayan and a ranker assisted Rachel in devising a plan to bring her closer to Bam, allowing her to carry out her ultimate goal of ending him. Rachel's plan succeeded, and she ended up alone with Bam, where she betrayed him by pushing him out of the Shinsu bubble, aiming to end him once and for all. Afterward, Rachel lied to the others, claiming Bam couldn't have survived the bull's attack. Later, Luro gathered the participants and informed them that Bam's body couldn't be found, suggesting that the fish may have eaten him. With the test concluded, everyone passed, and Bam's friends pledged to fulfill their promise to take Rachel to the top of the tower to see the stars. However, Kun remained suspicious of Rachel, but pretended to go along with the plan. Luro decided to resign and invited Quan to join him in investigating the matter by climbing further up the tower. Meanwhile, Yuhan Sung took the remaining participants to a different location to continue their tests. It was revealed that Bam was alive and had been found by War Ryan. When Bam woke up, he demanded to know why Rachel had tried to harm him, and War Ryan explained that he would need to climb the tower again to find the answers he sought. She offered to help him train, and several years passed. The adult Bam, now standing with his back to us, was shown continuing his journey to climb the tower.